that our churches were all part of the universal or Catholic Church, when Catholic is used in its proper meaning universal. One church, the church that Jesus anticipated in his prayer. To me, it's been an exciting journey and continues to be. We've got over those questions that Peter was asking. And groups like the Iola community have been responsible for helping us do that with their amusing dialogues that we've been able to use. Plenty of other churches have done in their own different ways, things that work towards bringing churches together. Will it be a centralized autocracy based in somewhere like Rome? Will it be a confusion of independent groups like the congregational churches that I was brought up in? What will it be? Well, I think we've probably come through that. We're learning now. We don't have to worry about that. Although, in the early days of the World Council of Churches, there were a number of great strides forward in church union. The Church of South India and the Church of North India, a number of the churches that belong to the Council for World Mission. And then it sort of went on the way. There were attempts to unite further. In Britain, it didn't work out. But still, local groups, such as councils of churches, have managed to succeed in bringing people closer together, getting churches to worship together, to commit themselves to joint action. We had 15 different churches in the town where I was minister in England, working together in mission. What did we do? Well, the local Bible shop closed down. And lots of people in different churches said, we need a new Bible shop. Can we do it together as churches? I was chairman of that at the time as well. The Council of Churches in Horsham, our town. And we worked hard for a couple of years to set up not just a Bible shop, but a coffee shop as well, where volunteers from all of those different churches came in to wait at tables. We served coffee, people paid for it because we didn't want to have trouble with other cafes and restaurants around the town who were a bit jealous that our prices might be a bit lower than theirs and we'd be taking their custom. We set that place up and it became a hub for the whole town, at least for the town's churches, and an outreach to anyone who wanted to come. Our waiters and waitresses were trained in counselling, in listening. People came with their problems. They sat down at table. They were approached quietly and sympathetically, and often shared their stories, their woes, even their hopes. And that shop is still going, about 25 years on. I've been involved and seen this happen. And what's the next stage? Well, that's with us and with God, as Jesus said to Peter. It's in God's hands. Don't concern yourself with these trivia. You have more important things to do. Jesus prayed for the church to be one, to be reconciling believers, so that the world would know. The world would know. This is surely our mission. A mission for which all of us must feel some kind of awe that God should have given it to us. What God is asking of us is to overcome those barriers between nations, between cultures, between religions. That's no mean task. It's an awesome task. But it's the task that Jesus gave to Peter for the church that he was going to build. The church that we inherit today. The church that today exists in a world where nations more and more are rebuilding barriers. An event such as the shooting of a fisherman in the sea south of Taiwan leads to a barrier between two governments. They haven't said sorry yet. The President has given them 3 days for the Filipino government to apologize and pay compensation. Otherwise, Taiwan will break its diplomatic relations with Philippines. In Britain, the government has just asked the Queen to tell Parliament what laws they hope to pass in the next session. They hope to pass a law to make it more difficult for people to enter the country as residents. It will inevitably be more difficult, especially for people who are fleeing terror in their own homes, to become refugees and settle in Britain. Every means will be used. Every excuse will be given to say, oh, but they're not really in danger back home. They only want to come and benefit from our wonderful economy. In a country which, after the war, opened its arms to immigrants from the Caribbean, and ships flooded across the Atlantic with people who were able to take up employment in jobs that local people didn't want to do, or in jobs for which there were no longer enough people to do them because they'd been killed in the Second World War. That time community in Britain became much more diverse. In many ways it was much more exciting. But the barriers go up when people see such change. Israel itself is still working on that wall, a real solid wall to separate Jews from Palestinians. Built mostly on Palestinian land to keep them out. This is the world in which God places the church to build up relationships, to overcome divisions. We have a tremendous task. The prayer of Jesus is more relevant today than it ever was before. The prayer of Jesus that they may all be one must be our unending prayer and vision, not only for the church, but for the world, with the disciples of Jesus taking the lead. In his name be the praise and glory. Amen.